Thank you for joining today's briefing. Today we set out the framework that defines employment at Ventia, its key provisions and its significance. Australia's employment system operates on a clear principle, that is, workplaces function best when entitlements are balanced. Neither executives nor frontline staff bear all the authority. Enterprise bargaining, translated into an agreement, is the mechanism that brings both sides to the table. Through this process, wages, hours, conditions, protections, and expectations are negotiated, becoming the rules that govern the daily realities of work, never vague or left to assumption. Our focus is Ventia Australia, a company entrusted with one of the most sensitive responsibilities in South Australia, the secure transport of prisoners and the management of in-court security. These are roles carried out in high-risk environments, where clarity and structure are essential. Officers cannot work under guesswork. The Ventia South Australia Prison Transport and In-Court Management Agreement 2024 provides that structure. Approved by the Fair Work Commission on 19th of September 2025, the agreement explicitly covers all staff in prisoner transport and in-court management. It is legally binding until the 30th of September 2027, with no new claims permitted until expiry. In practice, this agreement sets the rules on classification levels, pay increases, work hours, leave, and dispute resolution. It forms the foundation of employment relations at Ventia. The process of making an enterprise agreement in Australia is tightly prescribed under the Fair Work Act 2009. It begins with the Notice of Employer Representational Rights, which must be issued within 14 days of bargaining commencing. Employees then have the right to choose a representative, though for Ventia, the default is the Transport Workers Union, either the South Australian or Northern Territory branch. Bargaining follows under good faith rules, requiring both sides to meet regularly, share relevant information, and respond to proposals. Once a draft is finalised, it goes to a workforce vote. If the majority approves, the agreement is lodged with the Fair Work Commission, which must ensure all employees are better off overall than under the relevant award. Only then does the agreement take effect. For Ventia, the Transport Workers Union plays a central role. It ensures the interests of escort officers, control room operators, and supervisors are formally represented. Its involvement provides a channel for structured dialogue and collective voice, critical in a sector where hours are long, conditions demanding, and risks inherent. Above all, an enterprise agreement exceeds compliance. It seeks to ensure fairness for employees and operational certainty for the company.
The relationship between Ventia and the Transport Workers Union has had its challenges over the years. Union members have at times taken steps towards industrial action, filing for protected action ballots when negotiations appeared to stall. There have also been walk-offs and protests, particularly in Western Australia, where staff raised concerns about low pay compared to similar roles and unsafe staffing levels. These tensions highlight a level of frustration among workers. Staff turnover have been ongoing issues which would definitely influence how future negotiations unfold. If management ignores this history, it risks further mistrust, but by acknowledging past problems and demonstrating a commitment to improvement, the company can set a much more constructive tone for bargaining. The key priorities for renegotiation. First, wages are the big one. Workers have clearly said their pay lags behind others in the industry, and bridging that gap will be a top priority for the union. Second, rostering and allowances need attention. Staff often work long, unpredictable hours, so fair overtime rates, proper penalties, and unsocial hours, and staff rostering should be on the table. Third, safety and staffing levels. These are frontline roles dealing with prisoners often in difficult conditions. Having the right number of staff on shift, good training, and proper equipment isn't just about compliance, it's about safety for both officers and the people in custody. Fourth, dispute resolution and transparency. Strengthening how complaints are handled and how information is shared between Ventia and the union would help rebuild trust. And finally, non pay issues like professional development and well-being support shouldn't be overlooked. Giving staff clearer career paths and mental health resources can improve retention and morale. In short, the next round of bargaining should go beyond just pay. The priority should be fairness, safety, and creating a workplace where people feel valued and supported.
To ensure a smooth and successful round of enterprise bargaining, it is critical that Ventia prepares strategically and systematically. First, the company should conduct a detailed review of existing enterprise agreement, particularly clauses related to project management, shift scheduling, and employee classifications. These areas are often sensitive and could raise employee concern if left address it. Next, we recommend an internal um, audit covering compliance, safety incident, wage progressions, and training completions. This will help us identify not only operational inefficiency but also opportunity to support staff more effectively. At the same time, gathering feedbacks from staff, especially control room operator, will give us variable insight into how agreement is experienced on the ground. We should also benchmark our agreement against comparable prisoner transport providers to ensure that our pay structures and conditions are both fair and competitive. Finally, assembling a well trained bargaining team is essential. The team must understand the Fair Work Act 2009, particularly its requirement for good faith bargaining, which includes open communications, timely responses, and a genuine commitment to reach agreements. When it comes to bargaining strategies, employers generally choose between three main approaches. The first is positional bargaining, where each party enters negotiations with same demands. This method is often adversarial and can lead to prolonged dispute, especially when used in complex public service contracts. The second is interest based bargaining, or called IBB. This model prioritizes shared interests such as safety, stability, and employee well-being. It focuses on cooperative problem solving rather than competing demands. Finally, some organizations use hybrid strategies, combining IBB for some clauses like working conditions and positional bargaining for non negotiables like pay caps. For Ventia, we recommend adopting an interest based bargaining strategy for the next round. Interest-based bargaining is particularly well suited to Ventia operating environment for three key reasons. First, our workforce, represented by the Transport Workers Union, is deeply invested in shared outcomes like safety, consistency in rosters, and fair treatments. A cooperative approach strengthens relationships and builds trust. Second, IBB has proven effective in public service contracts where delivery risk and frontline engagement are closely linked. As Buchanan and Henderson point out, partnerships models improve both industrial relations and service quality. Third, the TWU has a history of engaging constructively, especially when the employer demonstrates genuine commitment to address their co-concern. By entering negotiation with transparent and mutual respect, we reduce likelihood of dispute and avoid reputational risk. By adopting IBB, we position Ventia not just for compliance, but for a more stable, efficiency, and engaging workforce.
To apply an interest based bargaining strategy in practice, Ventia should focus on collaboration rather than confrontation. The first step is preparation and conciliation. By engaging early with employees and the Transport Workers Union through the Employee Engagement Group, we can gather feedback on key concerns such as safe working conditions and roster stability. This helps identify shared priorities before bargaining even begins. The next step is joint problem solving. Rather than framing issues purely as cost, negotiations should be structured around common interests like safety, fairness, and efficiency. For example, roster clauses could be explored in terms of balancing our employees' work-life stability with the organization's need for service flexibility. By applying these steps consistently, the strategy moves beyond positional claims. For example, we want a 5% raise versus we can only afford a 2%, and instead focuses on creating solutions that both sides can support. A third element is transparent communication. Sharing evidence such as weight comparisons with industry competitors and cost of living trends builds a trust and demonstrates that proposals are based on clear data. Finally, Training and skilled facilitations are essential, ensuring Ventia's bargaining team is well versed in interest-based methods and, if necessary, supported by external facilitator, helps maintain constructive dialogue throughout the process. It is shown that although interest-based bargaining requires more effort and trust building up front, it produces more durable outcomes, reduces conflict, and strengthens long-term relationships. Disagreement is a normal part of enterprise bargaining, but it must be managed within the framework of the Fair Work Act 2009 and Ventia's Enterprise Agreement. The guiding principle here is good faith bargaining, which requires both sides to meet regularly, generally consider proposals, respond on time, and avoid conduct that undermines negotiations. The first step is to always follow the Enterprise Agreement Dispute Resolution Clause. This means issues should first be raised with a supervisor, then escalated to HR or senior management. To make this process effective, we should have a clear escalation pathway, hold regular check-in meetings with union delegates, and document all discussions to demonstrate compliance with good faith obligations. If internal processes do not resolve the matter, the Fair Work Commission provides external support through conciliation. An impartial conciliator helps the parties explore solutions without imposing outcomes. To prepare for this, the enterprise should develop a joint statement of issues, authorize negotiators to make practical concessions such as rostering flexibility or training commitments, and use the opportunity to explore interest-based solutions that balance cost control with employee well-being. If conciliation fails, the matter may move to arbitration. This is the last resort because it results in a binding decision and limits flexibility. If arbitration does occur, we should present strong evidence such as financial reports, productivity data, and safety records, and also have a communication plan ready to explain the outcome clearly to staff. Finally, at every stage, respectful and transparent engagement is vital. Regular updates to employees reduces misinformation, training managers in conflict resolution, keeps discussions professional, and creating a joint union management working group helps strengthen collaboration beyond bargaining rounds. By following this approach, we as an organization can resolve this dispute fairly, maintain continuity of operations, and build long-term trust with employees and the union.